Here on his Kennewick property, Bradley Keever goes nonstop.
This is just my little makeshift shop. So here's a small one, Grandpa's old tractor. I just got to run it again. This roasts my coffee. This building right here is going to be turning into my meat packing room. This is where the roasting happens. On this side of the building, I'm putting a recording studio in. I built this from nothing.
You'd have a tough time finding anyone busier, unless you saw him at work.
We are begging for work. I can't believe I get paid to do this, to do nothing.
Keever is a pipe fitter at Hanford on the fire protection maintenance team. That's him on the right at the work site. It's their job to make sure pipes, sprinklers, and alarms are ready to go in case of a fire. It's an essential task. Hanford is the most contaminated work site in America. For decades, it's where they produce plutonium for the country's nuclear weapons program. It left behind millions of gallons of radioactive waste, hundreds of contaminated buildings, and toxic soil.
It's hard to think of a place in the state of Washington where having fire systems ready to go at a moment's notice would be more essential.
We're both working at Hanford.
But when Keever got to Hanford's fire safety team 7 years ago, he couldn't believe the sluggish pace. He says his employer, government contractor HMIS, gave them little to do, but instructed them to charge the government for full 10-hour days of work.
So what would you do?
Read, watch Netflix, nothing.
And how did you feel about doing that?
I thought I was insane.
According to a suit filed by the DOJ, HMIS's failure to appropriately plan and schedule work, they regularly engage in a fraudulent timecard scheme designed to fleece the Department of Energy.
It is lying, it is cheating, it is stealing. We're stealing from the taxpayers. I mean, our taxes are outrageous. Why pay a company to have their guys sit around?
Some examples include a manager writing workers who did not have a job assignment for the day were to charge for a full day of training. 2 workers charged 2 hours apiece for a job they detailed took from 9 a.m. to 9:14, 14 minutes, not 2 hours. Another worker charged for a full 10 hours of work on a day he spent in front of a screen. Watching the 90s rom-com, There's Something About Mary.
I think it's extremely unfair to the taxpayer. The big thing is to clean up this waste, and knowing that this money is allocated to do that and it's not being utilized for that, it's quite depressing.
While the money was rolling into HMIS for fire safety work, federal regulators found massive gaps in maintenance, including federally required pipe inspections that had not been performed in many years.
A fire is one of, if not the most likely emergency scenario out at Hanford that could spread chemical and radioactive waste far and wide. And so to not know the status of every single fire system at Hanford was terrifying.
I was just attracted to the safety on fire as I got older.
For Brad Keever, this work is personal. At the age of 9, after lantern fuel spilled on his leg, a friend lit a lighter.
So I have about 20% third-degree burns throughout my body.
5 decades later, the scars are still there, a reminder of the importance of being ready for a fire, exactly what he wants to do for people and the environment at Hanford.
We don't want that reputation of being the lazy Hanford worker that doesn't want to do anything. We're forced to be that lazy Hanford worker. We have very highly skilled craftsmen that are ready and are begging just to work.
The contractor under investigation, HMIS, says they are cooperating with the DOJ and that they're always looking for ways to improve how effective they are out at the site at Hanford. And you know, there is a lot of money at stake, billions of dollars, or the kind of contracts we're talking about right at Hanford. This company has a multi-billion-dollar contract, and the DOJ says that millions were most likely wasted in this alleged scheme.
And then what happens now? Where does this case go?
Yeah, they have a trial date set for September of 2025. But you know, most cases like this, when the DOJ is involved, they do settle. And sometimes for big money. Like one kind of similar to this settled for $57 million a couple of years ago.
That just looks so bad.
Yeah,
What
so
a
we'll
waste.
follow it.
All right, thanks, Susanna. The King 5 investigators are dedicated to serving the public interest through watchdog journalism. If you would like to submit a tip to our team, just email investigators@king5.com.